We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this very special broadcast, exclusive discussion with Paddy. Tonight, I'm having Barrister Tim Bisa, Barrister Fru Johnson, and Dr. Patience Abiodo. You're well aware of the caption we presented. The stakes are high. As the days are moving on, the complexity of our struggle is increasing. But our faith and hope lies on the saying that the darkest time of the night is when it is about to be done. I've brought in these government officials and I would say seniors or elders of our struggle with great insight on diplomacy and the technicalities of the ground game to analyze some of the circumstances, some of the issues that are plaguing our revolutions. Hypocrisy, we have seen it on full scale. We've also seen diversity in opinion, not just opinion. Ambazonians in recent time have become so keen in collaboration with the concept of collaboration and unity. And we have blacklegs, enablers are using that as an opportunity to sway the struggle out of its course. There's a lot of manipulation, misinformation, and disinformation. Some of the things we'll be discussing them in details with Undaunted starting, I think, 8 p.m. But I'm sure that now that we've started late, Undaunted might be starting 30 minutes late. Now, what is the game plan? Is the question we have to ask. This same day, October 24th, 2020, that's 2 years ago, Ambazonians woke up into a massacre. We saw our own babies moving to school to study, and they were slaughtered in cold blood. At least 7 babies were killed. Or should I say, school pupils were killed. Now, a few days later on, Cameroon, in an attempt to conceal their crime, they would victimize innocent people with a big court case. Some of those things will resurface them today and have the legal minds discussed on them. Our focus tonight will be on some of the utterances that Chris Ano has made. It's insinuating, and we've got comments coming in. The insinuation would be that the president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is the one that might not be interested in collaboration and unity. Now, based on his insinuation, he is presenting himself as the Messiah that wants President Sisiko or former President Sisiko out of jail. Well, this is a question that I will not answer until I have our panelists on the platform. The question that I'd like to ask them when they come up is, do we need Sisiko on the negotiation table? Or do we need to use him as a bargain? At what level can that happen? Is it that Cameroon spent all of the billions we are aware they spent with the help of France into Nigeria to release Sisiko overnight because somebody's shouting? Is the struggle about noise that people make on the social media? So what is this political rhetoric from Mr. Ano? What is he trying? What is the catch? We will get into all the stories. And there are some utterances individuals made sometime last year. And Chris Ano himself said in his memo that the power should be handed back to Sisiko. It's a paradox owing to his initial position and the statements that he made on TV a few months ago about the release of Sisiko. If today he's presenting himself, as said, Has he repented from the sins he committed some months ago? As Secretary of State for Communications and IT, he committed the sin of thinking that we're not supposed to jeopardize our freedom because of those that are in jail. On the contrary, he preached based on interim government policy that we will have to free our land, because freeing our land means we would have freed all prisoners of conscience. I will not waste much of your time. Right after this break, you will have the panelists to enhance this discussion. Stay tuned.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Until dusk shall turn to dawn, Ambazonia shall move on. This is the mandate to this generation. I woke up in the morning and the sun was high on the mooring at the furthest end of the horizon. Its brilliance displayed as one ready for a new ride. I was mystified. Off like a gazelle, I ran to my daddy to ask for the reason why the sun keeps its course and so does nature. Tata, how does the sun glide from behind the mountain to the furthest end of the sea and does not fail? Regularity and precision seem combined to deliver. But can the sun resist to take its turn? Can it desist and utter no for the expected yes? I waited for the response that set the tune to my life as Daddy looked into my eyes. That day I learned how strong brotherhood can emerge and persist. He said, let go of the ego, the me. Move on in unison, the we. For there lies the secret of growth. With fingers pointing to the sea, my father said, the world, my child, never gets stuck. It moves on like the rhythm of the waves in a harmonious and faithful interlock. The elements merging like a sacred lock to gracefully attain the bulk. This is our lot. If community building be our aim, a newly built country our goal, then Ambazonians, go, be caught up in this silent rhythmic parade like nature. There is no life without change, but the will to change is the challenge. Absorbed in your creator, your mind, no less than your spirit, must seek, adjust, and listen, as if all depended on the missing particle that your neighbor holds. Growth comes with letting go, picking up, attending, and heeding to form the whole. No bond thrives where attention is denied. Ideas do not flourish at the fringes of the vision. Nature's will refuse to roll where discordant notes unfold. The new is born. When concepts are refined, positions changed, and growth allowed to ripen like a passion fruit that bursts out for all to enjoy. Our freedom is at stake. Our people look to us with haggard faces. Night and day, they plead with our brotherhood to be the ladder that lends height to their aspirations to pluck their sovereignty. a fragile but hopeful people at home front look to you to keep your side of the contract sealed in their own blood. There is no one else but you to help them. Life is unity, work in harmony. The minister can be ministered to. The soldier can march in unison with the applauding crowd and the rhythm of the band while heeding the command of the leader. Amazonians, let go of the fetters that bind your minds. Heed not the discordant notes that tear your lives. Be liberated to liberate. This is the battle for life, for a people. Our story is skillfully woven into the mosaic of history, where each piece tears its part to complete the whole. Yea, always in harmony, in harmonious rhythm with the others. Like heart's beats and the brain captures every signal of the body. Friends, hold the hand of your brother and sister and walk in the tempo of your people. I saw the toad stuck in the rock. It died. The food stuck in the throat. He died. Blood stuck in the heart and life ended. But this is not our lot. We have come to succeed and we will do. Ma Eli Jambelele.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this important broadcast. Perhaps we may want to check our environment sound so that we do not interrupt the broadcast. There's sound coming from someone. Thank you. That was an amazing poem there from Ma Eli Jambelili. You're welcome, Dr. Patience. The British would say ladies before gentlemen. So lady before gentlemen, you're welcome to this important broadcast.
Thank you so much, Director Tarh, for having me here today. Let me greet my co-panelists, Barrister So and Barrister Bish, for joining me here today on this extraordinary session, I should say. And I hope we have a very interesting talk about issues that are surrounding our struggle. I know you started by mentioning that today is the second anniversary of Kumba Massacre. And that was really an inspiration for me to write what I wrote yesterday, because when I looked at the pain and suffering of the mothers, of the family members, and I'm thinking that we are still at war 2 years later, something has to take place, something has to happen. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much for opting to join the show. Barrister Team, please.
Again, once more, thank you for inviting me, and thank the other panelists for being present. As usual and as always, I hope our discussion is going to throw more light on the issues at stake. It's going to educate people who don't seem to know many things. It's going to guide us watching in this interim government and beyond. It's even going to guide the enemy, our opponents. Because it looks to me like in this process, they seem to be confused, running left and right, jumping up and down, without even knowing where they're heading to. So thank you for getting me here. I hope my contribution will be valuable. Thank you.
I think your contribution is extreme. Barrister So, please.
Yeah, Paddy, thank you very much for inviting me. You know that I have devoted the last 10 years of my legal practice for this fight. And It have been a very trying 10 years of my life. I started with the networks in Douala. I started with the military tribunal in Yaoundé. And of course, Ambazonians know the rest. I have been here now for the last 3 years, and I'm still fighting because I believe that we deserve our nation. I believe that the present leadership of the interim government will deliver us from this quagmire. And that is why I have a lot to say in this discussion. And I hope that my contribution will be meaningful not only to the panelists, but also to Ambazonians. I thank you very much once more, Paddy, for inviting me.
Thank you very much for that. I think what you just said sets the basis of what we are supposed to be discussing this evening. You said you believe this leadership will help our nation get out of the quagmire. I hope I quoted you rightly. And
Correct.
this is the same leadership that is seemingly being isolated by those who would want to call themselves frontline leaders and other de facto groups. We have seen in broad daylight that even Yaoundé would want to behave as though this particular interim government is non-existent. They have tried in several different ways, it doesn't work. And I think they came quite close when they intercepted our pilot structures late last year from within. They did a great job. Today, the result of the job they did, we have two factions of people calling themselves IG. Dr. Patience, you had a write-up, and your write-up highlighted some of this. Now you would start by talking to us what this day means to you and the inspiration of that write-up. I think we can kickstart from there, please.
Thank you so much.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Patience.
Okay, I thought you were about to show something. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Dr. Tarh. So the first paragraph of my write-up, the very first sentence, I say I am putting a message out to Mr. Ayuk Tabe, to Ms. Marianta Njoma, and to Mr. Chris Ano. And the reason I did that was because they were part of a structure that on the October 1st, 2018, President Sisoko himself restored our independence. So we are already a government, and he was the president at that time. But let's look at something further. I'm just trying to give a trend of how this division came about. When we had ASSC 1 in Berlin in April of 2019, there was something very important in one of the resolutions. If you give me a minute, I just want to read that because I think that would throw some light into the what I'm trying to get to. During that very important first conference, the Ambazonia Stakeholders Strategic Conference in Berlin, the first resolution reads, empowerment of the interim government by the people. The Constituent General Assembly at ASSC 2 2019 reaffirms their continuous and unflinching recognition and support of their interim government and as the legitimate representative leadership body of the people of Ambazonia, irrespective of their political alignment, hence recognized H.E. Seseko Julius Ayutabe as president and H.E. Dr. Samuel Ikomisako as acting president, leading the people of Ambazonia in this capacity as he and our other leaders languish in the dirigence of La République du Cameroon. The General Assembly therefore cautions the people of Ambazonia against wanton misrepresentation of the president presently in jail by individuals with the aim of fostering malicious personal and political agendas. I go that far back because I want to give the history of how this government has been led. Now, if we remember, and probably Barrister Saul will talk more about this, that there was a period that APNC came about. APNC, which preceded ASSC2, was that conference that was trying to started to cause fractions or problems in our interim government. That was a time where there were lies, some of them coming from Cometa, to discredit President Sako. But despite of that, we had ASSC and we reaffirmed that Seseko was still the president and Dr. Sako was the acting president. Now, remember what Seseko did. Just around the time that the United Nations were meeting, he decided to create another government. He decided to dissolve the government and create another government. And we all know what happened after that. We had a split in our government. And that was the first problem right there. But since then, he has realized that he was giving false information. Because all these things, they say to kill a dog, give it a bad name. So they gave President Sako a bad name. They mentioned all sorts of lies and all the like, related to SCBC and to the government and to the finances. So, and President Sako even decided to have that that the government be audited. Remember, we're talking about my trip to Boya at that time. We have not even seen what Seseko did with all the money that came through him when he was president, but we will not go that far back. So, to make a long story short, that was the first fraction in our government. Then people now realize that, okay, we can always cause another division. Came Chris Ano with his own, and Cometa still. Cometa is always behind this. Cometa is always behind this. So now come Chris Ano, saying that, first of all, there was a problem with Iringwa, which we knew later on was not the issue. Now that President Sako was not doing the job, that was mismanagement of funds and all the lies that he brought about. Until today, they cannot prove anything, right? We've heard comments from members of their coup plotting government. They have not proven anything. And they have created another government. And Chris Ano, Marianta became the new president of whatever they call a government. Then after that, they gave her 4 months, and we wonder why they didn't give us 2 years, but they gave her 4 months. And now the real person, the person who really wanted to be president, Chris Ano, took over. So all this division, which is the work of La République du Cameroun, because they are behind it, divide and conquer. So when they keep us all divided, we cannot, the international community is confused. Who do we talk to? We just need our people to understand that there is just one government. If they follow the track of what has happened from Sissoku to Chris Ano, to Marianta to Chris Ano, they will realize that this is the work of La République du Cameroun to keep us distracted, to keep us fighting amongst ourselves and not focusing on the enemy. So that's why I started my paragraph. And if these individuals really love our people, this anniversary of the Kumba massacre, where our children were killed in their classrooms, if they really love our people, these three individuals, Seseko Ayutabe, Chris Ano, and Marianta, they should just step aside or support the interim government. Do you know that if they do this, what I just said will be closer to Boya, because they are the impediment. They are the ones blocking our journey.
Well, I hope you know that is a desire that will not happen. It's like what I said earlier on, Cameroon spending all the resources getting into Nigeria via clandestine means to hijack Sisiko, for some to assume that they will be doing big Maoism. That's not English word anyway, but it describes what I'm about to say on the social media, and we'll have Cameroon release. Barrister Tim, I want to come to you with this. It's quite concerning that we are having some setbacks because of some of the actions created from within, not even from Cameroon. You are like an advisor of this government. If you would have to advise our approach, our narrative, to give some confidence in external partners or with external partners that have concerns about this divide. We cannot flee from the fact that there is divide. There are factions, and the factions are purporting themselves or claiming to be governments and presidents. What will be your advice?
I'm not sure that the international community is holding anything because of the divide. No, that's not true. If you go further, you would ask yourself, all this divide, Sisiku, Anu, Marianta, whoever, whom are they fighting? They are fighting Sako. That's a fact. What is their goal? What do they aim at doing? They are looking for recognition from the enemy. All these talks are going to meetings left and right. They're looking for recognition from the enemy. And it's a matter of principle. When you are engaged in a battle and you are looking for recognition from your opponent, you're on the wrong path. The opponent is never going to recognize easily the person who is really challenging them. And in summary, I've put this thing many times before. Ala Anu, Marianta, whoever, Restoration Council, whoever, all these people, if anybody thought or still thinks that they have removed President Sako from position of strength, I can advise them to go and do their homework. President Sako, with his government, or call it a group, is here to stay. They can dance up and down. They can go left and east. They can go down and south. He is here to stay. The international community knows that. Yaoundé, the opponent, knows that. They don't need to go to Ngambe to know that thing. It's there. So I don't care myself, bothering myself, talking about people, call them Anu or Komota over. To me, I may be wrong, they are charlatans. They don't know their left and right. Again, you don't seek recognition from your opponent because the opponent will never recognize you. Is us the first? No. Then what happened? I've always given this example. During the apartheid regime in in Zimbabwe, Ian Smith sought blacks, and he got Ebe Mozorowa, who was even a fighter, to become his prime minister. He did not change. And so the opponent is going to do all that all the time. Madam said, you see, the Kuma massacre, whoever died, it is not about Sisiku. No. It's not about you and me. It's not about Kometa, who are lucky to still be alive. The issue is Sisiku is alive. And let me just say this in passing. When this thing started, I was talking to most of them, and I still talk to some of them. I was surprised that they didn't even know what MTT meant, which were being sold here as the money in the store. The guy asked them, they were asking me, what does MTT mean? They had no idea about what MTT meant. So, it is not about them. No. Again, they are still alive. They are lucky to be alive. They are just 10. But there are thousands of others in jails left and right. There are hundreds and thousands of others who have died, who are never coming back to see what is going on now. The issue is this. Why were these people killed? Don't just take the ones who are dead. What did they die for? Why are they being killed? A good number of us, brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers, have lost their homes. Why were their homes burned down for? That is the issue at stake. It's not whether Sisiku is in jail or not. I'm sure he will come out. Just like you and me here, we'll go back home one day. The ones who died, the children who were killed in Garabu, the people who were killed in Pinyang, the people who were killed in Kumba, the reason is, what did they die for? And I've said this before, the international community has understood this thing more than ourselves. They have said the root cause of the problem. The root cause of this problem is not Sako. That's not the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is not Anu. The root cause of the charlatans, they don't know what they're doing. The root cause of the problem is not Mba Akuru. I've heard some of his nonsense right out there. That's not the issue. If you want recognition from the enemy, you are on the wrong path. Because in all struggles, the enemy will not determine his his opponent. The enemy will not have the final word on who sits on the table to negotiate with them. They are just a party. They are one party. And so, if I'm advising, and I'm still advising, it's not that if I'm asked to advise, the interim government remain focused. I think we're doing the right thing. The interim government was seeking recognition from Yaoundé. We're seeking cooperation from them to come to the table. That's just all. We're on the right path.
We're going to get, Barrister team, we're going to get into that interim government and the focus, interim government and the ground game and strategy, interim government and changing the game on the ground. But first, I like to come to Barrister Fu on this very vital aspect. This utterance is unfortunate, Amazonians, that we will have to highlight. It irritates me every time when I have to signed or highlight Arnold, because this is what he wants. He wants us to talk about him. So I'm vexed in my spirit every time I even want to talk about him. I don't want to do it. I hate doing it. But then we have a duty as ABC Amba TV and as the government to bring clarity and to make sure our people are not victims of manipulation. Barrister, through this comes to you. But before that, let's watch an excerpt of some statements that were made. And these statements have led to such statements. And it's pushing so hard a narrative that could be confusing for those who do not understand. So my idea is, let's try to bring this understanding. Just watch this.
Condition. Sisiko is one of those who should be one of the parties sitting on that table. You cannot say you are discussing peace and justice and you have some of the leaders locked up behind bars. You are talking peace outside. We will not be. We are saying if the conditions change and Sisiko and the rest are released from prison, we will be there. And please do not say that is a precondition. It is not a precondition. Sisiko and the rest are released from prison, we will be there. So we are saying if the conditions change and Sisiko and the rest are released from prison, we will be there. And please do not say that is a precondition. It is not a precondition. Sisiko.
Well, I don't think we need to watch any much or further. But then, I don't want to give my analysis as of yet. But I think this guy has no clue. Process, procedure, timing. Barrister Fu, please talk to us.
Yes, Paddy. I will attempt to answer that question. But let me say this. I left Yaoundé after 9 days of a week that was traumatic, to say the least, to me. I left court. I went to the airport. I took a flight, went to Bonaberi. And the following morning, I saw what Siseko posted on social media. dissolving the interim government. And 2 days after, I took another flight to go and meet him. And, I asked him, are you the one who posted this on social media? And he said, yes. I said, why would you do a thing like this without consulting your legal team? You are in prison and you have lawyers. Tell me, among the prominent lawyers that I have put together to defend you, which of these lawyers have you contacted before putting this out? Let me know, because I'm still the lead counsel here. They said he contacted nobody. And he told me outright that I was not his lawyer. I was not his government's lawyer. I was the lawyer for the Naira 10. I said, look, Mr. President, you are confusing me. Now, listen, I came into this defense because of what I believe in, and I believe in you. Now, you tell me, what is cooking? He said, what I've just said, take it or leave it. Then he called a meeting. And in that meeting, I don't want to go. I don't want to waste the viewers' time trying to talk about what happened in that meeting. But let me say this. The worst 14 hours of flight from Douala to Washington, that was my worst flight ever. Because I was coming to give a report to the acting interim president, Dr. Sako, who hired me and consequently the lawyers that I was working with. And I keep telling myself, will this revolution survive like this now that the president has done what he has done? Meaning that all this suffering, all this work that we have done, all the suffering in Cameroon that I have put myself in, will I survive? It kept going through my head, Paddy, as I flew to the United States. And that was the second time I was coming to the United States. I won't tell you what the first time was. And I gave that report to Dr. Sako. And I was in his office. And I almost, it was not his office. He got a place where we met, a hotel. And I was almost in tears. I told him that our president has been compromised. That is the sentence I made. That sentence, I have never developed it because I know more than what that sentence means, buddy. Because I stayed in Yaoundé and I found out the truth. We say in a parable that first fool is not a fool, but the second fool, third fool is actually a fool. This is a man.
But I'm not cutting you short, but I like us to we're going slowly on this because it's important
yes,
when
you
you have insensitive utterances like this. It's important for us to make Amazonians understand the story very well. By this time, the government that was being led by President Sako had spent close to 80 million, if I'm not mistaken, for the case you were lead counsel. Am I correct? 80 million CFA.
For those of us who were lawyers in Yaoundé, I don't think we had up to $20,000. But for the lawyers in Nigeria, yes, I agree.
Yeah. I'm talking about the entire case. I'm talking about the entire
thing. Yes, about that, yes.
So,
I agree.
So
but let me.
My interest is not what the team in Cameroon got. My interest is for Amazonians to get to know what President Sako did for a brother.
Yes, Paddy, I want to answer the question whether what Chris Anu just raised there, that for any negotiation to take place, Seseko must be on that table, must be released and all that. Let me tell you something. I don't trust Seseko. I've never met Marianta in person, but I have been in cabinet meetings with Marianta, and I tell you, I don't know what I think about her. And Anu I read Anu's letter very carefully, the data of 6th of March 2021, I think, that he wrote to the cabinet in which I was part. I tell you, when I read that letter, I knew that Anu was up to something. And Dr. Sako, being the prudence and careful gentleman that he is, he kept it in abeyance. I wouldn't begin to find out why he kept it. But I was worried from that day, and from that day that Anu knew that I knew about it, I was a target of attack each time in the cabinet. And I knew it, and I was up to the task. But I knew that Anu was planning something. That his thing about Ironwa and so on and so on, it was to get his way. And I met a gentleman when I first got here in the United States called Cometa Elvis. It's a very unstable gentleman and also very, very uninformed. He doesn't know much, but he claims to know everything. That is the man who has been secretly causing these problems. Let me tell you, Paddy, if Yasser Arafat did not get rid of Abdul Nasser, the Palestinians would never have a homeland called Ramallah and the West Bank. They will never have it. Because when Yasser Arafat was fighting, inside that their team, there were people who are working with the enemy. The same thing with Chris Anu, the same thing with Marianta, the same thing, and they made no bones about it. And Marianta kept attacking the president during cabinet meetings. My patience is there to agree with me. And I tell you that I have come to know that this revolution cannot survive without Dr. Sako, because he has handled all these spears coming from all over. I don't know. I cannot say that I would. If I was the one, I would be able to. I'll be able to handle it. But he kept his cool, and this is where we are. We are going to deliver the Southern Cameroons and Bazonia to our people, with or without Chris Anu, with or without Marianta, with or without Siseko, and all the coup plotters and everything, because this is normal in a revolution. I want you, Paddy, to go and read the Eritrean revolution, and you will find out that they were even worse than us. Read East Timor. What happened in East Timor? And you will know that we are not doing anything that the international community does not know. And anybody who thinks that we are divided, like my senior colleague just said here, no, my senior colleague has confirmed that we are not divided as far as the international community is concerned. The international community knows what is happening. Today is the day that our children were gunned down in Kumba. Whether Siseko took part or not, or knew anything about it, I would put it on his head, because he started what is happening now in this revolution. Because I mean, how can you sit in prison
I'm going to come back to you
and dissolve a government?
I'm going to come back to you. Yeah. But I'll definitely come back to you. You just said something that gives a reason why I should get to Dr. Patience as an eyewitness. And one thing that gladdens my heart is when you say that if you've read East Timor or Eritrea and all the revolutions, ours is better. And we have realized that don't want the world to think that is bad are those who have given up. And so they want to give reasons why they feel it cannot work, or to console themselves that we are taking the wrong path. I'm happy for that statement. It consoles me, and I believe those who are watching us now feel consoled. Dr. Patience, I'm coming back to you. Your write-up this morning has cut across the joints and marrows of Ambazonians. And I would tell you, when I saw the caption of it, I didn't even need to read all to be sure that it was an amazing write-up. This write-up, like you said, you were provoked by those who were killed. This same time last year, there was a court case. I know Barrister Fru and Barrister Beseha are in better position to to examine the techniques of it. But when you look at the cruelty that's involved with the colonial master, the forces of occupation and their gimmicks, they don't seem to change it. They do it every now and then. How do you feel when a fellow woman, mother, like Marianta, is so insensitive in the face of such a thing and will take a path that she's well aware that is so wrong? You are state for services, for the Department of Women's Services, and you hold this responsibility to lead and to caution other women that may have unconscious situations. Please talk to us.
You know, to Marianta's credit, she wasn't like that from the very beginning. I would say that when I joined this struggle in the capacity that I am, well, before I even became the the Secretary of State for Women's Department, I was a volunteer. I remember coming on, at that time it was SCBC TV, and talked about my trip to Boya, why I supported it. And then there was a show that I had with Marianta, and I was really excited about her passion for the struggle, her devotion, and her poise. So I think something happened down the road, because I think most Ambazonians who saw her then realized that she was wholeheartedly for the struggle. I'm not sure exactly when she became the power monger that I hate to call her, because there's no reason for anybody who has been part of the government, seeing what the president has gone through, to even think that they want to be the president. You know, what is it that she can offer? What is it that she can do different? You know, President Sako idea of defending your county LGA by LGA came from President Sako. The idea of drafting came from President Sako. All these innovations, things that have taken us this far. What exactly new did Marianta think she could bring to this struggle?
I'm not cutting you short. It's important for me to tell our listeners that county by county, or the Amber Peace Plan, is a concept of shared governance. So do you understand that it is not about a centralized system? Some believe that during a wartime, that should not even be authorized. But you will have a president that during a wartime, when he needs enough power that is possible, he would rather govern with the people. Go right ahead, Dr. Patience.
Yeah. So back to Marianta, and I think that if I were to dissect where I think the problem, I think her association with VP Abongwa was probably what pulled her away from this interim government. I think that connection, because there was a time that Marianta really respected the president. You know, if we go back and listen to other meetings that we used to have, she really respected the president, President Sako. So with time, with all the manipulations, all the lies, she drifted, and her allegiance to VP Abongwa probably clouded her judgment to the point where she thought that she was ripe enough to be the president of a whole nation with nothing new to offer. And as a mother, causing this division when our kids are perishing on a daily basis, and I would think that go back and reflect on what you've done. Think about what you can do to amend the problem. Because if she were to say that, okay, I know this government came about because of XYZ, I think it was a mistake, I'm going to, stop. I'm no longer the president. There's no other interim government led by Marianta. I may be saying something that is so far-fetched, but I think if people that are following her because sometimes you only go as far as you go because you have followers. Without any following, you are lost. So if those who are following her realize that she is not benefiting the Ambazonia struggle, she's a hindrance, she's an impediment, and say, Iya Marianta, it's time to stop these games that we are playing over the lives of our children. Step aside. Let's either you join what you were a part of in the past, or you just step aside and take a break, a sabbatical, whatever you want to call it. Let us move along. I think we'll go a long way. The reason this is important, I know Barrister Team said that it doesn't matter what they're doing and all the like. I think it matters, because if the international community, and if you follow tweets from people like Thibault Nash and all the like, if they are seeing all these other people claiming that they are leaders, they are presidents, and as a matter of fact, if you are not in our,
they are mingling with some of these individuals. Like we know the other man that has been mingling with Thibault Nash, and Thibault Nash might,
yes, absolutely, because we should not deceive ourselves that the international community is speaking only to President Sako. All these people are coming and giving their own A's and B's and C's and clouding what could have been an easy thing. And that's why I put that, I preface my write-up to say that the fastest way to get to Boya is when all these people set aside their ambitions and let the international community see that, yes, for now, there's only one interim government. Let's focus with them. This will be over in a short time. So the killing that is happening daily, that La Republic thinks that, oh, these people are so divided, let's have a feast and kill all of them. It's all on them because they are causing the division. Yes, we believe that President Sako is rightfully the right person, but the international community is not seeing that. They've seen this division. They've seen the division, and we have to find a way to stop it.
Barrister Fru and Barrister Tim, I know you want to react to that, but so that we make progress, our time today is really not much.
Yes.
Now, there is a proceeding. I know you'll be leaving, Barrister Fru. I know you'll be leaving in the next 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Now,
in the
proceedings.
Yeah. The next 40 minutes, yeah.
About 40 minutes, yes. Now, the proceedings that are going on in the court as we speak right now, or that went through the kangaroo courts in Boya, not even Yaoundé, where the victims of the supposed victims of the Kumba massacre. I just want to read something from Defense Lawyers to Human Rights. It says, defense lawyers describe to Human Rights Watch the multiple procedural irregularities at the trial, including the inherent lack of independence and fairness of the process that civilians face before a military court. Aside from that, we also realize that the trial was predicted upon circumstantial evidence as opposed to real evidence. And throughout the trial, the prosecution brought no witness we could ask questions. And this was Atowata Chimi. I'm bringing this to you. I know, Barrister Flo, you want to react to what
which
Dr.
court was
Patience said. That was in Boya. You remember last year?
That's a meeting tribunal in Boya.
Yes.
A meeting
Yes.
tribunal in Boya.
This is really something, Barrister Team, as you react to what Dr. Patience has said. I know, Barrister Team, you always like to paint that picture of hope, but sometimes we need to be critical.
I think I've been anxious to say something.
We've had Thibault Nash, yes, make statements.
Let me just, I think I followed Thibault Nash.
Yes,
let me just start from Thibault Nash. Thibault Nash didn't come on the scene today. He was in the State Department.
Please, you want to bring your laptop again down so that we get your image fully.
Is it okay?
That's better. Yes, that's.
Thibault Nash was in the State Department. Thibault Nash was in the State Department. At the time this division was there was Choyaba, there was a Kwanga, so there's nothing new there. Thibault Nash can say what he likes. That is not going to change anything. You cannot even help us because there's a rule where you work in the State Department. I get out, you have a length of time before you even go into consultancy. But that's not the issue. The issue I want to address is this. You see, when we get into this discussion, sometimes we miss the point and we emphasize on things that to me are irrelevant. I want to dwell on the message which you played there from Chris Anu. We want Sisiku to be there. We want ABC to be there. If it's not precondition, that's the message I want to deal with. And this is the thing. If you want Sisiku to be there or any other person, it is not a precondition. I don't know what it is. But that's not the issue. Who is Sisiku? Sisiku has become relevant because he was the president of Ambazonia. But let us remember, before I address that particular issue, let us remember that in 2016, 2017, there was no Sisiku. Nobody even knew where he existed. But there was a leadership that took this course from the consortium to whatever it was. What happened to that leadership? I think it was Agwambala, it was Nebafontem, and a few others. What happened to that leadership? They were caught and detained, they were caught and locked up. There, Sisiku and the rest have been locked up. What happened to them? They were released, as he's urging that Sisiku should be released. They were released. And what happened to them? Where are they? Yes, they were released for purpose of discussing the end of the conflict, and they joined it. They were caught for what? For talking even the idea of form of state. They were released and then brought onto the negotiation table to negotiate special status or whatever thing they call it. They are still alive. Nothing has changed. So Sisiku release is not important. We would love Orange to be released, but that's not even important. Sisiku has not remained in jail for as long as Penn Terence, Mancho BBC. I was talking to them. I talked to all these people individually. So the issue of releasing Sisiku or any other person, it will be a better thing on the discussion table because that's when they will gain the best release under the best terms. So releasing him or not releasing him is irrelevant. If you look at the 10, what they call the Nara 10, how many of them were actually involved in the struggle in 2016, 2017? Just like me and you sitting here. Who know Awasum? They didn't know those people. So just releasing them for the purpose of thinking that if you release them, then the battle will end. That's an irrelevant thing for me. Yes, we'll be happy to say I don't release. But it's not even enough to release Sisiku. Release 10 parents and thousands of others. If you release all of them right now, that is not going to end the problem. Their detention is not the reason for which the fighting is going on. No, it is not. And I wish that all those who claim to be leaders, be it Kometa, be it anybody, should have this lesson in their heads. Sisiku, like you and me, is only one person. That is not the root cause of the problem. So, unless you don't even understand what Sisiku is, somebody thinks that we will release Sisiku, you can't sit on the conference table as a president. No. He said they will not come there. Somebody else will do it. So emphasizing on releasing A, B, C, or D is not what is important. If Mr. Anu were the president, and I think he is one by his own imagination, let him go and do what he promised to do. He promised to deliver. Let him deliver. Leave Sako alone. Let him bring his own pie. Let him bring his own part of the elephant. If he thinks releasing Sisiku is the most important thing for him, let him go and release him. He's not the president. If you release him, you and me will not say Sisiku go back to jail. Let him just go and release him. Maranta was there for 6 months. That was the same choir. Let her go and release them. Kometa, Mr. President, Chairman, Mr. Kometa, whatever you call it, say, go and release them. Go and deliver your own bargain. As simple as that. So, Sako did not prevent you from being chairman. You still be a chairman. Did not prevent you from becoming president, Madam Marianta. She did not prevent you from becoming president, Mr. Anu. Deliver what you promised to do. Short and simple.
And
Sako did not cause this war.
Big mouth big mouthing
Yes.
on the social media.
So running empty voices on stupid thing you call radio. Leave Nabo Nash and Wetable Nash alone. He has served in the State Department. He can say what he likes. He's a freelancer now. What he
You
says
see,
does
but
not mean
Mr. Fruit
anything.
is bubbling to speak. Let's give him more the
Yeah,
mic
you
now
speak. Let
because
me.
he might be living on,
Let me my point.
he might be
But
living
I'm
on the
leaving.
phone.
Sisiku,
Yeah,
I've
but
emphasized
Mr. Fruit,
again.
let me do you in. The good thing
Sisiku has
about
not
it
been in
is
prison for as long as Ben Terrence and others. So what if they release him
yeah.
today and then they came and went to the Toronto conference or went to other conference? What would that have saved us?
Let me cue Barrister Fruit in Barrister team. He will leave.
All
He
right.
will definitely
Thank
leave
you.
us on this table for today. This is the point I'm about to make here. Barrister Tim has just said something, and I tell people if we want to talk about the struggle and leadership, Sisiko is not a leader more than Dickintasan Wilfred. Dickintasan Wilfred, via a very legal process, willfully allowed Sisiko. Sisiko was not a better leader at that time. So why do you think that Sisiko is you're going to use his name as an emotional blackmail or to emotionally manipulate our people? I'm so happy with the way Barrister team has brought it for some to understand that it really doesn't have any bearing when it comes to the freedom of Ambazonia. Please, Barrister Fru, go ahead.
Yes, I want to react first of all to what our famous Secretary of State for Women's Affairs just said. She said that, and I can understand because she does not understand revolutions. When once somebody conducts a coup in a revolution, trying to destroy the revolution as it is, you cannot allow that person to visit his vomit, no matter how much you feel about that person. I understand that she didn't quite follow when Marianta changed after having been documented by Bongwa. She changed and I was attacking everybody in the cabinet, attacking the president and attacking the cabinet. I lived through it. I'm sure that you did. Now, having said that, look, Barrister Tim has just said something here that is very important. Let them deliver. Seseko should deliver while in prison. Anu should deliver. Marianta should deliver. Kometa, who is their mentor, should help them deliver. But the point I'm making is that, look, this revolution will survive as it is now. And anybody thinking that the international community does not know what is going on and that they don't only talk to us, they talk to other people. I don't know. I cannot bet on that. But all I know is that if the former diplomats of America, when they leave, they are looking for consultancy and they can say anything that they want to say to gain favor or to do whatever they want to do. Tibble Nash is one of those who I thought followed him. I followed him all the way when he was still the Undersecretary for African Affairs under the Trump administration. And I tell you, I was so disappointed when he did not deliver. Very disappointed. And I don't all that thing that he writes on social media, I read it just for reading it. I don't believe in him. I don't. Having said that, the international community follows what happens meticulously. And they know that they have one structure that has been so structured. That's the interim government. From the federal to the counties to the LGAs and all what is happening and the amount of money we raised to fund the revolution, we have not gone to any of them to ask for aid. And I'm not even sure that if we ask for aid, they will give us. We are funding this revolution on our own, by our own means, by the little that we have. And the international community knows that. They are watching us very carefully, and they know that we bear the brunt. Whether it's to treat the refugees in Nigeria is us. The IDPs is us. the people, the widows and the orphans that have been created by La Republique of Cameroon on our people, we take care of. The 40,000 of our people that were slaughtered, we are taking care of their families. We are taking care of the wounded. We are taking care of. You think the international community is blind? They send people down there. They call the humanitarian agents or whatever they call, but they among them you have people who are there to find out a lot. They know that we control the ground. They know that we control what happens in Ambazonia. And I listened to an audio that one good gentleman made about whether La Republique goes up and come down, they will have to talk to the interim government led by Dr. Saki. Otherwise, nothing will work. I listened to that audio just before we got to this platform. And I'm telling you, Paddy, that this interim government is here to stay. And that is why we have to, with our difficulties, we have to fight to make sure that we stay together, support this government, do what it takes to get to free our people. Because there's no other hope. There's no other hope. You don't expect an interim government to behave like groups. Look, I considered Anu a dreamer because I have read about him. I knew what he was. When he visited Nigeria, I knew. I tried to find out who he was. And I know exactly now what Anu has been doing, what is his interest in the first place to have joined us. Marianta, I don't know much. All I know is that after she changed, after having been indoctrinated by Abongwa, he was started attacking the cabinet, attacking the president, and you were there, Secretary Abiado.
Yes.
And you want her to come back and destroy.
No.
Well, I don't think that Dr. Patience.
I want to correct that. No. Let me say this. Let me say this, please.
That does not happen. It doesn't happen.
No. Let me say this.
That's not what she said.
That's not what she said.
Well, that's what I read in it. That's what I read in it. That she should. Resigning and going or joining LG or whatever. Yes.
To join their LG.
But in a revolution,
go ahead, Dr.
You have to be careful.
The patients.
Yeah, let me say this.
Paddy, give me a second before she comes in.
I'm sorry, maybe I'll misunderstood you. But the point I'm making is that Marianta is not worth.
Before she comes in.
It's not a revolution. It's not worth it.
Barrister,
okay, let me clarify this point.
Coming back to you. Yes, go ahead, Barrister T.
I want to clarify this point. Last week we had this discussion why they are calling this struggle not an international struggle. They call it national. And it's good for us to understand. See, in diplomacy, if the American government, for example, say, well, this is an international problem, the question they will answer is, who is the other partner? So any day you hear any foreign government call this thing international, that's the next step to recognition. They know that the battle is going on. They call it national because they have not yet reached the icon of recognition in their own diplomatic language. So don't expect to hear international conference from any government unless the government would the next day recognize Ambazonia. So let us be concerned with that. They know the problem is there. They know we're fighting. They call it national because for now, it is still Cameroon fighting. But they know that we're looking for independence. So it does not be worried that they call it national or not. Now, as Sanso has said, Thibault Nash, as I've said earlier, had his time. But Thibault Nash could not do more than administration wanted him to do. He delivered. He was just an agent of the State Department. He delivered what the State Department asked him to do. As I said earlier, when he was there, Chiwayaba was there, Akwanga was there. So the division did not start today. So let him say what he wants to say. He cannot even go into consultancy until maybe 5 years after he left the State Department. So you can do the social media propaganda, whatever it is, to have a readership. That's not important. So I just wanted to clarify this. Madam can continue.
So are you saying that there is nothing, just very briefly, so that Dr. Patience can take the floor? I want to come back to Barrister Fru very quickly. Are you saying that
Yes.
because he's not a consultant, there is nothing Amazonia can learn from him or benefit from him at this particular time?
No.
No, we can learn a lot from him. We can learn a lot from him. But what he's saying, what he's saying is not relevant at the level of the State Department.
Okay, what he's saying at the level of the State Department. Okay, yes, Barrister.
Yes,
Barrister
because we're taking so much into him because he was a diplomat.
Barrister Fru, catch your breath a little bit. I'd like to ask this question, and I'll come to you to hit on it more.
I'll be going in 17. I'll be going in 17 minutes. So
yes, Dr. Patient has 3 minutes to handle it. Yes. Dr. Patient has 3 minutes to handle this. And as you're correcting it, Dr. Patient, I want you to answer this question for me. You've learned lessons from women that start deviating, like Marianta. Now, as a leader of your department, an official of this government, a leader of the struggle, when you start identifying such tendencies, what is the framework you have to make sure that you avoid it and contain situations so that we do not get a repeat of the same? You have 3 minutes so that we can go and focus with Barrister Fru. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so when Barrister Fru, I will just start from where Barrister Fru spoke about what I said. I came up by saying that I don't understand revolutions, which is not a right statement. I do some reading, so I understand what happened during Eritrea. But let me focus on Marianta. I did not say that Marianta should come back to the government. Both my write-up and what I've said today is that they can either just be quiet, deserve what they have as government, and come back to the system. If she comes back and works at the level of LGA, put in her money, that would be welcome. But she will not come back to be a member of the government. So if she comes back and the president has said this over and over during the drafts, inviting people that were disgruntled, misled, that this is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So if you go and realize that you were mistaken, you were given the wrong information, and you want to do right by Ambazonians, you can come back. But of course, you will not be given a position of responsibility. You prove yourself worthy by working at your local government level and putting money into the struggle. And that's what I said, and that's what I wrote. And if you're not able to do that because of pride, just step aside and do nothing. But I want to say something else. I think we are mistaken when we keep on focusing only on Tibo Nash. I'm going to say this just because I was part of Team Ambazonia for a while. The United States Institute of Peace, USIP, which is part of the US State Department, has had opportunity to work with Ambazonians at the level of Team Ambazonia. And they do not differentiate. They will speak to Akwanga, they will speak to Chris Ano. Even now that Chris Ano is not part of our government, they will still speak with him. So we don't know what information these people are getting back and forth to get the US a little bit confused that there are many players in the soup. So we can take this lightly. We can say that, oh, they know that President Sarkozy is the only president. That may be true, but these other people, these other personalities are slowing us down. They are muddying the waters. So my write-up is probably something difficult to achieve, but I'm saying that for the sake of our dying people, these people need to do something if they really, truly love Ambazonia. With regards to what you're saying about what could be done for people that have done things like that to come back, the women's department is a department of the interim government. So we do women issues separately in terms of funding widows, funding orphans, funding refugees that are students that need help in different areas. But we are not in the position to say X woman should be placed here or there because of what they've done in the past. It's part of where they belong. They have to go back to the government.
Dr. Patience, that's not even what
Yes.
I was expecting. I'm not trying to give you an answer, but then I was expecting you to tackle. I'm coming back to you. I want to go now to Barrister Fro. I was expecting you to tackle how you are able to accommodate women and identify tendencies similar to the Mariantas and some Coopers like the Anne,
Oh, yes.
contain
Okay.
it, manage it, and see it ahead of time. I'm coming back to you. Perhaps you want to prepare to, because
Okay.
Amazonians are keen about things like that. Some Amazonians do not even want to listen to anyone that is portraying such tendencies. Now, Barrister Froome, the truth about it is, as the government, the way the government compacts themselves and shows leadership, both in the diaspora and at the home front, cannot be undermined when it comes to the image that Amazonia portrays in the international community. Right now, based on your understanding, appraiser of the status quo, what would you encourage the interim government to do with on both sides? I know we will conclude with FACO and what is happening and what is going to happen, but what do you think the interim government really needs to do and do hastily? Go
Yes.
ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Paddy. Before I answer that, I like to also correct something. I know the American Institute of Peace is not part of the State Department. It is an important an organ that, I mean, an important organization that has been put together to work on peace around the world. It's not only for Ambazonia. I want to also say that other revolutions have had this type of things, breakaway leaders, those who attack the main leaders, and the international community talks to them for want of information. They will continue to do that. They can talk to Anu, they can talk to Seseko, they can talk to Marianta, they can talk to all the other coup plotters that we're not even talking about. They can talk to anybody. But the point I'm making is that this interim government, to answer your question, Paddy, this interim government should stay the course, increase firepower on the ground, continue the good work that they are doing in diplomacy. Make sure that we are talking now in the offices, not on the corridors, to quote Dr. Sako, and continue what we have been doing diligently. We will not stop until La Republic leaves our territory. Let me tell you, if the international community does not come to assist us get back our sovereignty, we have independence already, but we don't have the sovereignty that comes with independence. If they cannot recognize our sovereignty and so on, we have a duty to fight and get the occupier from our territory. We have to change course. We have to use a lot more sophisticated means of fighting, because we have gone through stages from sticks to get to den guns to AK-47s and now IEDs. We have to improve.
I watched an
We have,
analogy at
we have
Media Prime. That was very
let me
good. The
finish.
analogy said started with stones, sticks, knives, then guns, machine guns, and the person was even predicting something that will
Yes,
lead
but
me to
we
help.
have to improve.
I want you to speak. I want to add something to this so that you speak more. That there is you just made a statement, Barrister Fru, and you said let the interim government continue to do what they are doing. Yeah, it sounds really nice, but do you think that the interim government will need to revise some things, or do you expect them to do the same thing and expect another result? So far, we have achieved
Yes. No,
something.
no, no, no,
Do you
no,
expect
no.
that some
But
things can
having
be
said,
revised? Yeah.
yes, having said that, let me say that we have functioned without. We cannot say we're not making mistakes. We have to keep looking back and correcting the mistakes that we have been making as we go forward.
And ameliorate.
But and ameliorate what we're doing. That's why I talked about the evolution of the fight on the ground. I was very worried. I'm still worried that some of our fighters have been compromised, but we'll have to bring them back to fight. We'll have to show them that there's a reason for fighting, and that is a big task that we need to.
Fighter can be brought back to continue fighting, but you do not think that someone in the diaspora that has defaulted can be brought back.
That somebody in the diaspora has.
I think that a fighter that has defaulted and perhaps is fellowshipping with the oppressor, with Yaoundé, can be brought back, but then it's limited.
Not those kind of. Paddy, let me be clear here. You want the details. Not those kind of fighters that are in the pocket of the enemy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the rank and file fighters that are still there. That is what I'm talking about. We have to improve on giving them reason to continue to fight as Ambazonia Restoration Forces. We got to reorganize some of the fighting forces. We cannot just sit and watch and do nothing. Those are some of the things that we need to correct and move forward. But all I'm saying is that so far, the interim government is on the driver's seat. It is doing a good job, but we need to improve. We need to change tactics. We need to start taking territory and keeping. Take territory and keep it.
You say that I'm inspired. Barrister Team, I'm coming to you with this. This is a good statement. Now, based on the predictions of this commentator I watch on TV, in one of the TVs, I think like the Media Prime or something, he said there are chances. Now, according to him, he was advising the Yaoundé government in that if care is not taken, we could now have missiles on the air and helicopters in the days ahead. I don't know if any guerrilla war that has gone to that level, but do you think that is an option if it's so intense? We heard the president on Thursday said, whatever it will take, wherever we can get the target, whatever and wherever. I took note of that. Looking at the way things are going, Barrister Bisea, do you think we are evolving retrogressively or progressively?
No, we are terribly progressive. Let me just address one thing before we get there. You see, a good dancer does not appreciate his or her own dance.
Yeah.
We have all these things they call groups. Do all these groups recognize the IG as a leading group? Of course. But have they come out to say that they have recognized the interim government? No. How do you discover the filaments of recognition? Ask all these groups, anyone by name. They will say, well, their common sing-song is unity. There's no unity because Sako has refused to come. Ask Chiwayaba, ask Akwanga, ask Anu, ask Marianta. They will say because Sako has not come. Okay, if Sako was so irrelevant, why must he join the so-called unity front for you to fight? So that they're telling you that this is the guy that who is not on board. If he's not on board, nothing will work. That's the only thing you can decipher from that. Then back to your question. In war, in this particular war, we don't exclude anything. In 2017, 2018, even 2019, if someone had told us that we will have AK-47s, that would have been like, were they dreaming? We today have them. Not because we went and bought them from China or bought them from Russia or from even Nigeria. No, we got them from them. So are you telling me that if tomorrow we had the opportunity to take one of their helicopters or their bombers, we will not use them? We use them. Nothing is excluded. Everybody agrees, even Yaoundé, that the struggle has grown from strength to strength. If the thing is not settled, let them expect anything, including rocket launchers, including bombers. We will have them. As we progress along, we have people who sympathize with us. We have even technology to manufacture all those things, ourselves. So nothing is off the table. The only thing that will prevent us from doing that is negotiating and getting the peace done. That is as simple as good morning.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody because someone was complaining, oh, we invited you to the CD and I didn't come. I said, well, if we didn't come, we didn't prevent anybody from coming. A year into it, if you are not delivering what you promised to deliver at the CDN, you're still
Then
blaming
it was
Sako.
irrelevant.
Yeah, you're still blaming Sako, then take Sako seriously, what he says. Because by now you should be delivering the goods of your CDN. Some clever ones among them, well, I think they're intelligent, they keep quiet. I've not seen my colleague, Bobga, since his
Dr.
ABN, since
APNC.
his ABN reading of the resolution dismissing Sako. I've not seen him anywhere on any public thing. Because he realizes, I think, that there was a misfire. He has gone silent and is out of the revolution. He can be making noise somewhere in the private room, but it's completely, his wings are cut off. So that's a fact.
You see, Barrister Besia, I'm not cutting you, but it's important that I come back to Barrister Fu. A lot of Amazonians would like to hear his diction when it comes to very serious issues. You can hear your senior colleague actually attesting that we are evolving progressively. That gladdens the heart.
Yes.
Now on Saturday, we promised and we did it. Amazonians came out in their numbers and the records, and the record breaker president did it. 80,000 US dollars and close to 30,000 was redeemed the same night. That means Amazonians were not just drafting, they were paying. With this motivation, you are from Tico, you said it yourself, and you paid and drafted with this motivation. We want to start seeing action, some real things. I'm not trying to talk about strategy, but I'm trying to say that, do you think that there should be a reset in that FACO? And now, before this year is ending, we need a reset in FACO. I don't want to call the name of this guy because he also irritates me. Moja is but there's something has to happen in.
Yes, well, Paddy, immediately after that draft, and I want to congratulate Barrister Mpesa and myself for having been part of the success of FACO on Saturday.
Yes.
We delivered what we said we were going to deliver. So I congratulate all of FACO, especially Barrister Mpesa and myself, because we delivered as promised. Having said that, Paddy, there are things in the pipeline now that we cannot discuss on television. The FACO will be handled a lot more differently than before. So I'm not going to say anything other than that. Thank you very much. I am running to work, and this discussion is very interesting. I wish I had 10 more minutes to stay on. So I will beg the panel that I am taking my leave now, and we will see.
Before you leave, Barrister.
You want me to say something that I don't want to say?
Before you leave, Barrister, Dr. Patience has a word for you. Dr. Patience, please go ahead.
Yes, Doctor.
No, I just wanted to add that don't congratulate only yourself with Barrister Mbesa. My patients also delivered.
I mean, so I know.
I'm a daughter of FACO, and I delivered also. Meaning that I fully drafted and paid.
Thank you very much.
Anyway,
yes.
One more thing before you leave.
That makes three of us on this panel, and we delivered.
Yes.
We delivered $80,000.
Yes, we did.
And one more thing.
And one more thing. Before you leave, one more thing before you leave. Yes, we did. 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 Yes, one more thing before you leave. I know you made the correction that I said about UC being part of the State Department. Yes, I spoke. I meant to say that they work together with the State Department to take care of problems and conflicts.
All right.
And I think they are the closest that we have so far because they've been working with Team Ambazonia and with everybody.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Yes, and I want to also say that they were talking to everybody in Team Ambazonia because they saw Team Ambazonia as one. They didn't think that Akwanka and Bohebe, they had something behind their head. Yes.
No. As a matter of fact, let me say something. As a matter of fact, I hopefully I can disclose this. Even right after Chris Arnold left the government, they spoke to him thinking that he was, because I asked them, I said, are you going to speak with him also? They said, yes, they will speak with him. So even though Chris Arnold was not part of our government, they said they will listen to everybody, they will speak with him. Because Chris was originally there as part of the IG, but when he left, they still want to speak with him. So that's the point I'm trying to make. Thank you.
I wish they find out that Chris is working with our enemy. That's good. That's all I can say. Thank you very much.
No, they will find out. Right. I think what we need. I think we'll forget all the time.
Yes.
The room is getting hot. For us to say a goodbye to Barrister Fro, I want us to go to Bakweriland and enjoy some music. Right after that music, I'll be back with Barrister Besea and Dr. Abiodun to conclude this discussion. Stay tuned.
Watu imana moko mwenge duwele loba koluka na jeno manja ekwe yo mwenge iya titie kema wateka mola njonjonjie adona njonjo moja His Royal Highness Chief Robert Esuka Endeli Chief Esuka Matthias ejo tute oka mola ste nyoki na iya Juan Eusi o mwenge si watu kumane me hoi aduja iya mojoko matute kwe yo mwenge Mola Samambua, Beyo Mengalo, Professor Nganje, Oa, Dr. Matute. Dr. Mokake na Dr. Ose, Ejo Bunge, Mola Gerard Luma, Mola Jacob Monono, Dr. David Makongo, Izomelele Jouelele, Wapeo, Izomelele Jouelele, Lowe Tunabile, Lowe Navelimo, Woni Manabile, Izomelele Jouelele, Iloni Kuganie, Yomandene Mokinjo, Oyo Mwenge, Mola Brandon Moa Koto, William Mokoko, Oyo Mwenge, Dr. Esunge Manase Mokwa Moja, the only elephant sitting on top of a tree. Say what do you want to be? Here, Julian Ngolo, Tingo no Jadue. Here, Molonga Tie, Timbe Jadue, Molonga Mongo, Imongo Teoka Yadue, Monyangina Wayale, Loena Velimo, Ironi Kuganie.
think that was a necessary break. The hall was already getting hot. Dr. Patience, there's a lot more in whatever you wrote. There's a lot more in it. When I read it, it was insightful, and I think it's timely. Undaunted will be giving us details on the report, on what happened 2 years ago, and some other aspects of today's events and the circumstances surrounding them. But perhaps you want to talk a little bit more the insight of your write-up, what you would expect to achieve from that.
Yes,
Dr.
thank
Patience,
you so
please.
much. Yeah, yes. Thank you so much, Director Tarh. So that write-up, again, was motivated by this second anniversary of the Kumba massacre. Motivated in the sense that I feel the pain of our people and the losses on a daily basis. And so what should we do? What can we as Ambazonians do to stop the bleeding, to make this process come to an end? And again, that's why if you read the title, it really just basically says the fastest pathway to a peaceful negotiated settlement, because eventually this will go to the table. And if it's going to the table for negotiations with us Ambazonians on one side and La Republic on the other side, then it will be very easy for that to be achieved. I did mention a few more leaders that have caused some sort of confusion in terms of having a certain number of following that people think they have something to offer. I mentioned Mr. Bo Herbert and I mentioned Dr. Akwanga. The reason I mentioned them is because in the past, they were also leaders or are considered leaders in this, our quest for recognition. And if someone like Mr. Bo Herbert turns around and gives 100% of his allegiance to the interim government, then that will carry some more cloud, because he will be part of us. He brings with him some his knowledge as a journalist, and he has a knowledge of our history also. So he has some benefit to bring into this government. But if he doesn't want to do that, then he should just stay aside and be quiet and say nothing so that we can proceed. Same thing applies to Dr. Akwanga, because remember, APLM was not really part of the structure from the get-go. It was really SYLC, the Southern Cameroon's Youth League of the struggle, that he was the leader at that time. So he comes with that background, knowing what we have all gone through, to just, if he doesn't want to embrace President Sako, he can work at the level of his LGA or do things without outrightly discrediting the president, because he has done that. He has done that on his platform where he has discredited this president. And then the worst of all is somebody that I really loathe, I hate to say that, is Cho Ayaba. And we all know, at one time I used to think that maybe people were just saying false information. But I have first-hand information from somebody who has been affected by the kidnapping orchestrated by Cho Ayaba. So I speak from a point of view that I know for sure that he is responsible for some of the kidnappings for ransom and some of the killings that are taking place. So in my book, he's a terrorist. And those who are following him should know that they are prolonging this journey that we have. President Sako has already said that we are fighting for international recognition, right? We restored our independence. So that international recognition has to come when we all join together, because we've been talking about unity. How best do we get unity for purpose? Somebody made it clear to me when I wrote it on one of the ABC news sessions that unity for purpose is the best thing that we can try to achieve. But then it becomes a problem, When you talk about unity for purpose, you have to count the leaders that are there and find out all these leaders that are there causing division. How can they be united for us with the purpose of us recognizing our independence? How can they do it? And this write-up that I wrote indirectly is a way for that unity for purpose to come about. So if you read it in the reverse manner, unity for purpose is for them to do X, Y, Z, because they are the ones that some people are following them based on the message that they are giving these people and based on the false message that has been given about President Sako. So Cho Ayaba should really, really stop terrorizing our people, stop giving us a bad name internationally, because the international community sees these atrocities and they think that we as Ambazonians trying to free our people putting all these harmful behaviors, harmful things on our people. So that is not a good thing, good place to be. So somebody like Cho Ayaba needs to set aside and stop doing this. And then for our ARFs that are there, some of them are confused. Sometimes I would get a voice message for somebody claiming that they are ARF, and they will say something like that, like there's no president of Ambazonia. So you know that those are people that have been giving false information, because those who are walking through the levels of the LGAs and counties know that President Sako is the president of the interim of government, and that we have this structure. As the president said, if you carry a weapon and you're not under a structure, then you are a terrorist, But if you're under the structure, then you're protected by the structure. And that's what we need to educate them, to not to kill their fellow brothers and sisters. This killing of fellow Amba fighters was not the case from the very beginning. There were people that were united. All this killing started because of the influence of Cho Ayaba, right? Cho Ayaba is the one that injected this poison where our sons would kill their brothers and sisters. And so I'm saying that, I'm begging them that this has to stop. And for all Ambazonians in general that are watching us, that are crying every day that we don't tire, our people are dying every day. What is it that we have to do? We have to pull ourselves together, put our funds in the struggle financially, because that's the least we can do. You fund the struggle financially because we are not on the ground to fight or defend homeland, or you support the different departments, the HSS, the women's department that are helping refugees and widows and orphans and students. So there's a lot that we can do.
The long and short of it all is that there is something for everyone to do. So I'll be right to interpret whatever you wrote as an open letter to those you think are defaulters of the movement as we speak. Barrister Tim, please, you want to react to that quickly before we move to the final phase of this discussion?
Yes, I have a few reactions. We started talking about people talking to different people about this struggle. They will always talk. In fact, a good negotiator, mediator, will go through across the board to talk to everybody who claims to have an interest in the struggle. You and me in the IG, we cannot control that. We cannot ask he or she not to talk to A, B, or C. No, they will do it. That takes me to the second point. You see, these discussions we have all the time, they help us a lot, sometimes unknowingly. When you go to the negotiation, which we will go, you prepare yourself. There are things that you don't like to do, but you will not prevent them from coming up at the negotiating table. For example, all of us here, the majority at least, we don't want to hear about federation. We don't want to hear about referendum. Doesn't mean that will not come up there. It will come up there. It will come up on that table. We will not bring it, but somebody, your enemy or your opponent, will bring it. So what we argue that we should know that when you hear those words coming left and right, there are indications that you have to prepare. You are going to win at the negotiation table by the strength of your argument. You're not going to go and sit there and the Republican say, well, want to go to a federation, you walk out and go away. Because they want to hear the word federation. You have to argue against it. So what will be your major points? I'm not going to go there and somebody stand up and say referendum and say, no, I'm going out of the thing. No? What's your best argument against the referendum? So we prepare those things by doing what? But the points that we raise to defeat the idea. Those ideas will all come to the table. No doubt about that. Then, back to all these so-called groups. The bulk of the people are there for self-aggrandizement, just to be noticed. That's a fact. And she talked about Choyaba. Choyaba's girl is one of the funniest girls I ever find in the world. They do a lot of wrong things are considered wrong, and they don't even hide. They videotape themselves doing it. Well, they might be seeking popularity somewhere, but just assume that they are popular somewhere. Does anybody believe that, for example, we know that Choyaba's group is in somewhere in Momo there? Does someone think that if Choyaba were to win 100% of Momo, they're going to win Ambazonia? Certainly not. So there are some of the stupid things that they do that don't help them. And again, before I end this point, we'll talk about FACO. I'm not a member of the FACO security, but I'm a member of the FACO executive. The lenses through which you look for success in FACO are not the same lenses you look for in Mezam or in Manu or somewhere else. FACO is particular. People who think that FACO is not fighting.
Maybe I should quote your words so that you expatiate on it. In the discussion on the platform the other day, cautioning some Ambazonians that were overreacting based on the handbill we sent out earlier on, you said the home front is complex and FACO is even more complex. Perhaps you want to enumerate on that so that we get a clearer understanding.
Okay, I was even coming to the FACO. I'm not just a FACO watcher. I live in FACO, and I've been there for the past 20 years. My house is there, right inside Boya there. So if you look at FACO as a county, not taking the individual towns, I've always said this, which is on the public record. FACO as FACO is a combined military camp. Every place in FACO is military camp. It's open there. You go to Manowo Bay, that's where the bee are trained. You cross 20 kilometers, that's 10 miles, to Sonora. That's where they have the greatest security in the world. The best security is put in Sonora. You live there, Motengene and it's less than 10 miles away. You have the police school. Sitting right there, it's a military camp. So every place in FACO is a military camp. That apart, FACO is the best served in roads in the whole country. I don't mean tar roads, for example. All these places you find Mondole, they are served by roads which are better than tar roads anywhere else in the Cameroon. These are all CDC plantations, served by roads, seasonal roads that they carry their produce in the rainy season. So you can have traveled on those roads.
All of these roads were created by colonizers for a reason we know, because of the plantations.
Just to exploit their products.
To exploit their products. Now let's get to the finals of this talk. You're going to talk on that because Undaunted is coming up in the next 10 minutes. Okay. This is the point. You've acknowledged on this platform, Barrister team, that FACO is a military base, a major military base for the colonizers. Meaning the challenges in FACO is the vice president said something before the president addressed the nation on Saturday. I took note of that. I wish I'll have him one of these days. He's a very busy man. I wish I'll have him one of these days to explain some things in that line. Do you think the interim government will have to refigure a strategy and triple whatever efforts have been done there before this time? There was a time you had the restoration forces in the towns of FACO. I remember the days I used to talk with the Ying force. You had, when President Sako just came, you had restoration forces coming, even, right inside Boya town to put order. But today,
yes,
I don't need to let me just finish. Now, there are some schools of thought that think that perhaps if we win the peripheries, other counties and LGAs, it may still weaken the oppressor. But the oppressor seems to be smiling because they are kind of having a whole of Victoria and Fako. Please talk on that. And Dr. Patience, I'd like you to also make a contribution as we conclude.
I was trying to say exactly what you were saying, but I cannot tell you what is being done. You have to strategize in FACO, yes. I was trying to learn and tell you, look, the president has said, and we all agree, we're in a guerrilla warfare. Yes. As far as FACO is concerned, the president has described guerrilla warfare as hit and run. As far as FACO is concerned, in the large majority, it can hit, but it cannot run because there's no place to hide. You can hit, you cannot run because you have no place to hide. And let me give you an example. 2017 or so, some small light fighting went on somewhere in Boya there. And the poor boys ran to the Soka village to hide there. The military went up there, destroyed that small hut, the house of the people, and killed everybody in the house. So, FACO, I said, is more complex. Yeah, you can hit, but you can run. You have nowhere to hide. Because the whole place is so developed. In fact, FACO is like a single town. You cannot, for example, run from Tiko to and fight in Miselele. You cannot run from where to and hide in Tole. These are all CDC plantations. So, supervised and surveyed by radar. Is something being done? Of course it is being done. As I said,
one thing that appeases me right now, that makes me happy, and I'm sure Amazonians listening are happy, is that for a strategy to be conceived, you need to have people that have this understanding. And if you have this understanding of the terrain, that means you can improvise something. I'd like you to know that this is the same FACO that covered Kenya in the late 18th century, waged the war against German occupation. And you understand that the Germans at the time they had developed FACO. In fact, the whole of Bimbia, they had developed that entire region for the German interest. Now, Dr. Patience, I'm not wanting you to talk about this. This might not be your milieu or expertise to talk about. What are the women?
Correct this point.
I'm coming back to you, Barrister.
Let me correct you. The time of the German war, with the Kenya, FACO was not developed. We were invading the place. For example, there was no road between Boya and Victoria. But today, you have a road to Victoria, you have a road passing through Tole, Tarh Road to Victoria going to Buyongo. They are not the same. They could hide in the mountains and do and run down stones on the enemy. That is no longer in FACO today. So the Kenya was fighting like my parents were fighting in rebellion over the hills, but with the roads there's no way you can do that again. Thank you.
So that's a major stronghold for Amazonia right now. I hope Frank Chinye has this information and he's drawing the bots, because Amazonians are not interested in all of these difficulties. They want results and they want it now. Dr. Patience, I'm not going to trouble you with all of this defense jargon and results. Talk to us. You are working in very close collaboration with the HSS. Today is a day where 12 families were bereaved, if I'm not mistaken, and your department in liaison and partnership with the HSS has been providing sustenance. Considering what you've been doing, what do you hope to do in the shortest time possible? We have IDPs as we speak. The numbers are in an escalating measure. The refugees are so increasing. Resource mobilization and National Treasury just suspended the draft that perhaps some refugees were hoping that come Saturday, something will be raised for them. So what are your projects, and what will you say to our mothers at the home front that seem not to understand the pain that you and your sisters are understanding in the diasporas?
You know, it's unfortunate that the draft has been suspended for HSS. Hopefully, there will be a correction to that. But I think every single Ambazonian that is that feels for the people that are suffering, be it refugees or IDPs or orphans or widows, that it's really left for us to give our widow's mite. When I say give our widow's mite, some people just have just their widow's mite to give, and others are blessed to give more than a widow's mite. We should do that. I think it could be a challenge that the HSS department should bring about, where all the fora that we belong to start the fundraising without the department, without the resource mobilization department. If I may just throw this out, because Christmas is around the corner. This is the end of October. We have November and then December. Those people need something. That is the time that they feel something. I would say the women's department right now, beginning the 25th of last month, we started the fundraising, Be an Angel fundraiser, where the women from the department have paired, well, in groups of 3 to raise funds for their LGAs. And you'll be probably seeing women reaching out to others to assist. This goes, we're not just reaching out to Ambazonians, we're reaching out to everybody, even those who do not support this cause, because humanitarian assistance is humanitarian assistance. It's different from physically fighting the war. So everybody should give something. And our people are waiting. They are really anxiously waiting to be assisted. I have a target to reach personally, and I will be making my own personal calls to individuals to just assist in getting this funding to help our people. I really pray that those who see the suffering of our people remember that these were people that had their own homes. They had the comfort of their homes at one time, but now they are living in foreign lands. Now they are living in foreign lands. Some of them have had babies. Some of these babies are orphans. So our people are really suffering. This is unlike Ukraine, that the war is probably 6 to 8 months old, but they have the help of the international community. We do not have that. We have to take care of our own people. Charity begins at home, and they say God loves a cheerful giver. You'll be surprised. You say, oh, I don't have anything to give. But you give that $50 or $100 or $500 or $1,000, and it comes right back to you because God is watching for us. I want to also just end by saying that I'm just changing the topic slightly. I know Barrister Beisha is more a specialist in this department in terms of negotiation. I want to just say that when they talk about negotiation or talking, there are different tiers, right? So at least the president is at that tier that is the highest tier. So they will talk at different levels to make sure that we align with each other and then go to the next level. But in the final analysis, as we are fighting for this, it will be just people that believe in either a complete independence restored and those who believe in one Cameroon, whether in the form of federation or unity state. That's one Cameroon. That's where that final talk will go. And when it happens, I don't think it will be something for national television to know about, just like the Canadian conference. I think when the time comes for the real negotiation, we will not know about it. It will not be a social media topic. And Barrister, you can correct me. It will be something that will be hold close to the chest, and nobody will know what is going on. So I just end by saying this, that please support our dying people. Give and give and give, knowing that you are blessed where you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Just to say something, the suspension, I had opportunity to converse with the Secretary of State for the Department of Resource Mobilization, and the suspension is not for a negative cause. I think it's strategic. The interim government is planning is for good news. The interim government is planning something really big, bigger than just what you can imagine. It's baffling, and they're hoping that one of these days it would have been ready for consumption, for public consumption. So an announcement of that big thing that the interim government is planning will usher in the draft for foreign affairs and the HSS.
HSS.
That notwithstanding, Barrister Tim, you want to talk to us on, we have seen the video. Undaunted is going to elaborate more. Undaunted will be elaborating. We sent our caption out and we said the captors, the true captors of the Nchang kidnap uncovered. You have seen the videos. My interpretation is that the movie staged by Yaoundé has just ended. But this brings me into something very instrumental. You saw Cameroon desperate to keep the Pope on the loop of affairs in the homeland, and their objective was to sabotage the Ambazonian site. What's the gimmick of that? And perhaps you want to encapsulate that with your closing remarks.
Well, I've seen more than the video that you have seen. I can assure you that those captors, the captives, I know some of them personally. I've been very, very involved in what was going on there. I'm a member of the church, but beyond that, besides that, I'm very close to that particular church in Mamfe. And so, I don't think even it's a question of suspicion. I've told those who are directly involved in Mamfe and whoever is interested to hear what happened in the Chang church, which I know the area very, very well. I taught in that school called Chang. I know the area very, very well. All the my 5 fingers point to the government. Let me just start from the last. Yeah.
It's like this.
Let us start from the last that we know. We know they are released. Where? In the Nigeria, as I'm told, somewhere in Nigeria. Does Yaoundé even believe, or even the bishop, the priests, the Catholic Church authority, whether the Amber Boys, whoever they are, have the capacity to transport, to keep 9 people, including women, for 1 month? Talk less of transporting them 120 miles from Chang to Mamfe. It's not possible. But let us say they want to assume that it's possible. This thing happened a month ago.
So this is an organized crime by the Yaoundé government?
Yes, this thing happened a month ago. To the best of my knowledge, I have not seen any reaction from the government of Yaoundé. Even to say, no, we don't know anything about it, they have not said anything about it. Okay, if they say nothing about it, as I told the church officially, Yaoundé claims that they are the ones in charge. Security is in their hands. So, where were they? The Regina Mundi. How did these people from Chang end up in Nigeria? How did they get there? Where was the government? With all their control points. They cannot explain how Regina Mundi ended up being captured in Mankon town and being discovered somewhere in Momo division and flown back in a helicopter, dressed in a wonderful, expensive tracksuit. And of course, the government area, the one that released her, in the process of releasing her, they were releasing pickup trucks. They were parked there. Is that not all absolute madness? But again, back to what we saw. This priest, as I saw this evening, these missionaries, they were supposed to have arrived at Cock. And somebody was talking to them, they were writing. He said he was the commissioner of whatever thing, immigration over there, touting himself as the guy who has been in Kuma for more than 9 years. Commissioner of immigration in Ikok. Ordinarily speaking, legally, if these people were released in Ikom in Nigeria, that's a foreign country. How were they released there? They were released to who? They were released to who in Ikom? That should have implicated directly the Nigerian government. Did they just live in the corner of a road and somebody picked them? They even the council, the local security department said, "How did these people get here?"
So the director of that movie, the director of that movie needs to go get some lessons from from
Yeah, so,
Spielberg.
and this guy was telling them, well, tell us. Let me learn. This guy was telling, this policeman was telling them, look, just tell us, I've just called. The administration is sending, put the gun to Manfred. And the guy was saying, no, we don't need you. He said, no, suppose something happens to you on the road. I want you to be said. The people were saying, no, we don't want, we don't want that. So it's like an ostrich hiding in the desert. I think at least everybody knows by now, unless somebody is so foolish not to know, that anybody can wear a camouflage and say, Amamba. Atangaji boys wear those things and call themselves Amber. But that's not even the important thing. The Amber of Atangaji or the Amber of Choyaba. How did they leave Chang and go to Mfum, to Nigeria? How did they get there?
The question is, to categorically state that it is Ambazonian, you want to ask yourself, how did you distinguish, how do you distinguish an Ambazonian from an Atanganji or from an AD?
No, don't even blame the guy, because the guys who captured them were saying that we're Amba fighters. That's what they are saying. They are saying, like Moja would say this. They are saying the Amba guys are the one who captured us. But the Amba guys or Amba fighters, as described like that, are not legitimate, are necessarily legitimate fighters.
Yeah.
The thieves that we have seen, Wraith Rooks, have described themselves as Amba fighters. So it's not that because they say the Amba fighters that the bishop will believe it. No.
It's so sweet. The discussion actually is not something that has to end now, because we have an analysis which I'm soliciting that you may want to stay to just give this analysis with Undaunted in a few minutes. You have just about 5 minutes to do that discussion. We have an overview of it and a couple of other reports, which I think your opinion will be needed again. So I'm soliciting, if possible, you would stay. But right now we have to leave. We have to start the news in the next 3 minutes. But you can stay and the discussion continues. Ambazonians, the discussion will extrapolate into tomorrow. I'm looking forward to having the Vice President tomorrow. I'm not very sure if the Secretary of State for Communication and IT will be available tomorrow, but definitely I may be able to lay hands on the Press Secretary to fill in that gap. There's a lot of information that we have to educate the general public. Thank you very much, Dr. Patience. I know you're also rushing to work. I want to say thank you all for making yourselves available. Good night and God bless you.
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa with untold stories, Africa's best. We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia.